My name is Jacob Crowe, and welcome to the Crow's Perch. Today we'll be going through two different stories, the first of which is titled, Guy with a Yogi Bear Fetish Infiltrates Star Wars Game. And just as a quick warning, this story is a bit NSFW. So without further ado, let's gather up a murder and hide your picnic baskets, and let's get right into this story. A couple of years ago, before I had an established D&D group I played with, my DM friend and I had to look for players on Roll20. We were playing Star Wars Tabletop over Discord. It had a way smaller player base than D&D 5e, so whenever we got an application, if the person didn't flat out say, "Ooh, hey, I'm a huge piece of shit," they got invited in. We get an application from a guy called Rick, wanting to play a rich dude with ties to the Star Wars Mafia. Decent hook. Doesn't seem terrible when my DM interviews him, so he gets invited to join. At this time, it's me, my friend, the DM, another new player, and Rick. Rick hadn't met the rest of us before now, so this was our first impression of him. Some context that will come into play. I frequently get mistaken for a girl over voice. I'm not, and the character I'm playing is a man. He's almost a joke character, with the voice being my best impression of Yogi Bear. The other characters in the party don't relate to the story. We start playing the session. I arrived late, so I didn't get to do a formal introduction to Rick. I introduce myself. I have a gender-neutral name, and Rick says something that I don't catch, since I'm setting up my dice. Later, my friend tells me he said, "Oh, great. Another snowflake." First red flag, and I'm still not sure how my DM didn't boot him on the spot. Probably desperate for the perfect party of 4. DM is introducing both Rick and the other new player in the same session. Our characters meet after their ships crash onto the planet we're on, and we get a plot hook which amounts to, go to X and shoot Y. On the way there, the second red flag pops up after combat. I'd rolled pretty well during the fight, getting a few critical hits in, and Rick said, in what I thought was a joking way, "Whose dick did you suck to get those rolls?" I laughed it off, a mistake, and moved on. Rick made a couple other comments like that throughout the session, and kept referring to my character as a girl, despite multiple corrects and my near-frequent usage of the Yogi Bear voice. It was annoying, but I was brushing it off. The session closed without any other incident, with us about to enter the base to complete the quest, and planning to pick it up next week. With that, I sign off Discord and go about my evening. About an hour after the session, however, I get some private messages from Rick. "Hey, I just wanted you to know I think you seem like a really cool chica and have a beautiful voice." "Hey, boo-boo, we found a simp over here." "That's some cringe, Yogi. I thought you're not supposed to post cringe this late." "We'll see what the Puck Ranger's gotta say about it." This is gonna be my favorite bit in the video. I'll admit my first reaction was to laugh and take a screenshot to show my friends. Initially, I was going to ignore it and reply in the morning, but then, browsing Twitter, I found the perfect thing to send. "Be gone, thought!" That was gonna be it. I would message my DM in the morning so that he can talk to Rick and let him know that that behavior wasn't cool. But before that can happen, not even 10 minutes later, several things happened at once. My friend tells me Rick left the Star Wars server. I get an email saying that Rick posted to our Roll20 forum, and finally I get 2 private messages from Rick himself. "Sigh. Another feminazi. I'll be gone. You be well. Enjoy ending the human species." Ever notice how Yogi Bear only takes the picnic baskets of men? So my DM asks what happened. I show him a screenshot of the messages I was sent, and he then tells me, "Well, that doesn't explain why he called me a pedo on our forum." Yep. Rick went on a long, ranting post about PC culture, special snowflakes, and how our DM was a pedo for playing with feminazis bent on ruining the human race. And I was playing a character who spoke like Yogi Bear for 90% of the session. TLDR. We recruit a player off of Roll20, he thinks my Yogi Bear impression is hot, then leaves the campaign when I reveal my feminazi nature. Ooh boy, where do I start? Well, for starters, don't join a game horny, please. Before the game even begins, get it all out of you, cuddle up and spend some time with your waifu pillow before you get into a game. Lockdown's got my man simping for Yogi Bear over here. "I really like how you're smarter than the average bear, Yogi-chan. I want you to take my picnic basket." Okay, I'll stop doing these. Also, if a girl doesn't want to date you, that doesn't mean she's a lesbian or a feminazi. Maybe you're just not charming. But what do I know? I'm just a bird. Anyway, on to the next story. This story is titled, D&D is Cheating, and that makes cheating in D&D fair game. The DM's wife invited me to join their game because she was tired of being the only woman at the table. When I got there, it was clear this was sort of an all bards but no bards campaign. What I mean by that is that all the players were horny bards as characters. They just weren't actually that class mechanically. It was a super corny mess with a lot of ridiculous romances driving the party, and hilarious awkwardness all around. The rogue was a dashing swashbuckler after the princess's heart, though he's not sure which one yet. The druid had several mates of varying species. Oh. Well, a bear's gotta do what a bear's gotta do. Come here, boo-boo, let me lay that pipe. I promise that's my last Yogi impression. The barbarian turned into the world's worst poet around women, and the DM's wife was a cleric who worshipped a love goddess. I thought it was all pretty funny, so I whipped up a Bayonetta-inspired sorceress to fit the theme. Yeah, that's actually strangely appropriate. At first, it was fun. The male characters got up to hijinks straight out of an over-the-top rom-com to try and win me over, only to fail tremendously. Then the NPCs started to do the same thing between adventures. I played along, and we all laughed a lot and had a good time. Except the DM's wife. Apparently she didn't like the in-game flirting segments between her husband and me. I can see her side. It'd be weird to see your spouse talking like that to another woman, even if it's just pretend. Bear in mind that I wasn't doing anything more suggestive than anyone else at the table. I was just the only other woman doing it. Also bear in mind that it was she herself who invited me to join. Instead of confronting me about it, she spent the next month and a half going behind my back. I'm pretty sure she got the other players on her side by making me out to be some sort of vile person that was making advances on her husband in and out of the game. I noticed they were getting more cold to me during this time, but I didn't yet know why. The DM himself eventually got wind of it, and I guess the two got into a fight over it. He sent me a message on what the other player had told him, and the fight he'd just had, and asking me to dial it back in game for her sake. I quickly messaged his wife back and assured her that her husband wasn't cheating on her with me, nor did I want him to, and that I was sorry if I made her uncomfortable in games. It should have been that we were all reasonable adults who could move on from this, right? Well, shortly after that, we were playing and there was a combat sequence which ended with us having a prisoner to question. The thing is, we'd already questioned the last 3 prisoners and they'd all told us the same story. I just wanted to get on with it, so I finished him off. The DM's wife used this as an excuse to get angry and attack my character, because it's what her character would do. I rolled to save against her attack and got a nat 20, and I kid you not, she picked up the d20 and placed it on the table as a nat 1 while glaring at the DM. The DM rolled his eyes and let it slide. She then described the effect of her spell. I can't remember what exactly she cast, but I remember it didn't do what she was saying it did. When I objected to the description, and especially her forcing my d20, the other players told me not to be such a rules lawyer. The DM wasn't about to stand up for me, so I wound up taking way more damage than I should have, and was unconscious for the rest of the session. After the session, I told everyone I had a lot of fun playing with them all, and left, never coming back to the game. TLDR, the DM's wife didn't like having another woman in a raunchy humored game, so she cheated to let her character beat me up. This is the kind of jealousy I'd expect from a couple in high school. If she's that self-conscious about other women in a tabletop math rock game, I can only imagine how she is at home. I feel so bad for OP here. She comes in for a game and instead gets a dysfunctional marriage. The other players, they had turned her into this kind of villain in their heads, to the point to where when push came to shove and she tried to push back, other players just let the DM's wife walk all over her. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed these stories, and if you guys ever had to deal with the archetypal horny bard, let me know how you did it in the comments down below. Until next time, as the crow flies.